So this is week 4. In week 4, we're going to start putting in detail. We have, in a broad sense, blocked in, we did some modelling last week, and now we're on to more of a detailed phase. And detail in this particular instance means detail surrounding the colours of the sun. The rocks, let's see how we go today. It may be that we do more on that next week. Okay, so for this week, it's just basically going to be the colours around the sun. This is the first time I'm doing this painting, so who knows how it's exactly going to turn out. I've made a bit of a circle where my sun's going to be, just so I can keep that as a bit of a bullseye. That's where my titanium white is going to go, probably next week. And for the moment, I'm just going to look to surround that with the orangey colours that are there. So there's a few things that are of interest. There's these rays of light. There's the orange on the ocean, on the sand, and on the beach. So that's essentially what we're going to be having a go at. And I think in this first video, I'm going to just focus on the rays of light that go up. If I put this into view, you can see roughly what I'm after here. We've got a sort of a ray of light which heads vertically out. So I've just got some little bits of tape. You've got perhaps some masking tape, which you've used for horizons and the like. And I'm doing something a little bit different this time. Previously, I've been mixing on my palette. I'm now going to a plate, and you can see I've recorded this video before, but it had some sound problems, so re-recording it. I'm finding that particularly the subtleties of what we need to paint here, this is superior for a bowl compared to a bowl, in my opinion, just at this point. So what I've done is I put the tonal stroke desaturating colours, the white, burnt umber, and lamp black. Actually, I think this is the lamp black and this is the burnt umber. Yep. So white, lamp black, burnt umber, a little bit like going down here. Then I've got my red cadmium and yellow cadmium, and I went and snuck off to the shop yesterday and bought some orange. So I'll show you that when we mix it, we don't end up with anything too different from an orange. And I've got some blue just in case I need to maybe muddy those colours a little bit. So to mix an orange, white, oh dear, thought my brush was clean, but it wasn't. So I'll give this a wash because I really need this brush to be clean. Again, just to remind you, I've got this out of view, so I tend to just dip it in terps, and then it really, it's like a mechanical clean, really gets that pigment out. Okay, so here we go again. So we've got some red here and some yellow, and that will take us somewhere. The red's quite dominant, so we mix the yellow in. It takes us somewhere towards an orange. What I found out is when I start to mix this a little bit thinner, the yellow becomes more dominant. So look, I put it to you that certainly this colour is way off that red. It's pretty close to that, perhaps not quite as light. It's definitely not a yellow. So I'm going to use this as like a little base camp of colour as I do my painting. Now, I have, just grab a paper towel for myself. I have previously mixed a colour for those rays of light. I'll just show you the way I'm thinking on that. So I grab a little bit of that, and I've got my, I just feel like I've got a little bit more control on this flat surface, and certainly the big paintings I'm working on at the moment, where I'm in a detailed phase on a sunset. I just need subtle variations, and so that's quite useful. So look, this I feel is a bit dark compared to that. So I'm going to put some titanium white in that mix to take it a little bit closer to what I want. And in reality, this is a little bit like a block in, because I'm really just putting these colours in for the first time. So I'll put this over here. And look, I might move this palette out of the way because it's just an unnecessary complication. You know what we've been dealing with in the past. So here I go. Look, I'm going to put a little bit more white in that. The white, the titanium oxide is a really dense colour and very opaque. And again, I'm not 100% sure if I've got this saturated enough, but I'm saying to you it's a bit more like a block-in phase for me. I'll just see how it goes. So I put a layer down like that. I am going to really soften that. Might be a bit yellow, but I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. Let's just have a look at the technique and see if we can make some progress. So that's there. Pull that one off there. And then I'm going to use a dry brush and a paper towel. So maybe just get a little bit of terps on there. And I'm just going to feather that edge a bit. Okay, so as soon as I start to get paint on here, I need to get it off, otherwise I'm just going to spread it. So you can see how I've sort of softened that. You could quite readily, and I will just for the purpose of this demonstration, you could use that big brush. It sort of moves it in a nice smooth way. And then on the other side, I'll take it up and again sort of get that smooth movement. Okay. So I can't say that I've got that colour exactly right, but for the moment, and particularly, you know, given I'm sort of demoing it on a video and there's less time to reflect, I'm able to at least show you a technique for that. And so I would go on and do something similar for these other areas. I believe there's one that's kind of coming out like that. And another one that's sort of fanning out. So I'll just do this one more. Grab a little bit of paint. Take those strips off. The strips just give a nice straight edge, even though we end up blunting that edge. They give a nice underlying straight edge. So I'll just take that up and take that up. And then just very, very lightly, just feather that out. And it could well be, you know, I can use light strokes of the paper towel down the side just to get that, the look of that light going off into the distance. So that's essentially it. I'll probably come back, it's a little bit yellow, and I'll come back and kind of maybe next week sharpen that up. But that's essentially the technique. I believe, you know, there's some here, some here. You do have other alternatives. You could quite happily, if you wanted to, you know, where it's a fairly narrow line, you could just get an edge of some sort and just drag a brush down that line like that, and then look to feather that. And also in here on the ocean, those bits of light are fanning out. So again, that would give you the ability to, with an edge like this, just to sort of put something in. But you don't want them as super hard. They're very, very soft and subtle. So at some point, you would go back and just make them take a fair bit of the paint out of them, so that they start to become more and more subtle. And you'd need to work on that over time. Okay, so that's the rays of sun, and I'll go into the next video and just look at this orange around here.